These crypto companies are going bankrupt pretty quickly right now. We have some news of a couple different companies that are in really difficult positions. Two look like they're going to go bankrupt. Another one just got hit with a large fine, and it's a really well-known company, one that a lot of people don't think is actually going anywhere. It's a crypto company, and they got a large fine that's about 40% of their cash on hand, if I'm reading this right. So we're going to go through this, also look at what's causing the market to go down, because there are actually a lot of stocks that are down significantly right now. Crypto's holding up okay right now, but it could cause a little bit of pain if it leaks over to crypto land. Now, this is going to be a pretty big video. I'm actually I'm out of the country right now. So that's why the setup is a little bit weird. It's going to be this way for maybe 6 or 7 days, but we'll get back to the office then. But there's a lot that I need to cover over the last day. So stay through to the end of the video if you don't mind. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Also, if you want to start buying stocks on a new platform and you want some free money, there's a link to moomoo underneath the video. They're a nice stock trading platform. Also a link down there to a couple different things if you want to help out the channel. Now, the Nasdaq's down almost 1% here today. It was down even further earlier. S&P down 0.8%, Dow down 0.8%. Now, yesterday, we got some pretty big news. We had the Fed minutes. No one predicted that the rate cuts would be necessary in 2023. Now, back in the Fed minutes in 2021, no one predicted rate hikes would be necessary in 2022 as well. So it just teaches you or shows you that they never really know what's going to happen before they do it. But that did, I think, set kind of a negative tone in the market. It didn't really push down the market too much because I think that's pretty much what the Fed has been saying, that they don't expect any rate cuts. And honestly, the Fed minutes isn't as big of an event as something like Jerome Powell speaking, so it doesn't influence the market, I think, quite as much. But that did definitely, I think, take a little wind out of some investors' sails. Now, what's causing the market to go down right now? Well, we got the December ADP private payrolls of plus 235,000, which is higher than the 150,000 expected, pushing up treasuries and pressuring equities. Basically, what we always see, 10-year treasury or any treasury really goes up, it forces pressure on equities and also high-risk assets like crypto. Tomorrow we get the December jobs data, and we're expecting about 200,000. So that's kind of a confusing thing to see come in right after we see Amazon saying that we'll cut 18,000 jobs, more than initially planned, and we see more and more tech companies cutting jobs. And yet we still continue to get more news like this, that jobs are higher than expected. So at this point, it just looks like the Fed can continue to hike rates until we have more weakness in jobs or until inflation comes down significantly, just kind of a waiting game. Now, this has not caused crypto to really go down much at all. Crypto is looking exactly the same, untouched basically. Maybe part of that is because we have seen a lot of bad actors flushed out. We've seen a lot of now long-term holders just holding and some actually buying for the long term, whether you buy at 16.8 or 16.5 or 15, I think in a few years, if you're bullish on crypto, it doesn't really matter as much. But there are some dark clouds looming. So a couple of bad things. First of all, we have seen Bonk coin or Bonk token blow up over the last few days. And you might be saying, why does this matter? And some of you might not even know what it is. But basically, it went up 117% in 24 hours. A lot of people are talking about it, a lot of social sentiment. We have some big creators talking about it. And it's a coin on Solana. A lot of people think it might just be exit liquidity for the Solana network, basically bring in more money into the system. And they did a token airdrop, which caused some excitement as well. Some people made some money, and honestly, I'm not surprised that it's getting some attention because this is the first time that we had some real volatility in a while, right? We used to be able to see this all the time. Crypto's going up 100% in a few days, and now it's pretty scarce to see that. So that some people might be really negative about, because that shows that there are still people degenning into crypto. And if people are degenning into small tokens like that, S coins or SHIT coins, you might think that maybe we still have further to drop. Some people look at that and say that we still are in some kind of bubble, or people haven't been beaten down enough if they're still investing in tokens like that. Social sentiment is another thing, right? A lot of people are getting excited about this, which brings more money into crypto. So there's one specific YouTuber that talks about this a lot, Benjamin Cohen, and if there's still excitement in the market, then he says that it's a sign that we're not quite to bottom yet. We also have some other big news. Coinbase is getting a $100 million fine from New York. So they break it down here. Basically, they're going to pay a $50 million fine in response to violations of New York's financial services and banking laws, as well as invest $50 million to correct its compliance program. So I suppose not exactly $100 million in fine, but $50 million in fines, and then $50 million spent on again just compliance. They say regulators reported that the crypto exchange had a backlog of 100,000 alerts about potentially suspicious customer transactions. So that is probably the reason that they're getting this fine in the first place. And they also allowed customers to open accounts without conducting sufficient background checks, a violation of AML regulations under the state's licensing regime. According to the regulator, the growth in the number of users at the crypto exchange had contributed to a failure to keep peace while monitoring suspicious transactions, citing a backlog of 100,000 alerts. So obviously this is a big fine. We've seen fines like this in the past. I think BlockFi had one as well. But this is pretty bad this far into a bear market. And I could be getting this wrong, but basically in their last Q3, they said that they ended with 5.6 billion in total available USD resources, but that is not all theirs. They have custodial services. So they say basically, if you wanted to figure out exactly how much they have on their balance sheet, you have to subtract the customer custodial cash liabilities from customer custodial cash. So on their balance sheet, they say this amounts to 233 million. And I could be understanding that wrong, but that's what I see. If you go to Seeking Alpha, it has this larger number, and I think that's just because they can't comb through the information as well, because it's more complicated than something like Tesla, where they just say in their filings that they have $21 billion worth of cash, and it's real straightforward. So this is quite difficult to swallow. I think $100 million outflow when they only have 233 million in cash. That's over 40% of their available cash. Maybe it's paid over time, right? But that's still not good news. And you can see that in the stock today. The stock is down like 12% and continuing to fall. Now, one thing that they could do is dilute shareholders. $100 million isn't that much compared to their stock. When we look at their stock price, they have a market cap of about $7.6 billion. So they could dilute just a small amount, 1 or 2%, and get that $100 million. But still, that's not what investors want to see. And they're burning through a lot of cash right now. They're quite unprofitable. They were really profitable a year ago or so when people were trading a lot on the platform. But now there are a lot of people withdrawing from platforms. There are a lot of people just hodling. So obviously they're in a more difficult position. So this company definitely getting hit hard today. This is the company that has 40% of their cash just swallowed up just like that. Not one of the companies I'm talking about going bankrupt necessarily, but that is pretty difficult. Again, they're going to have to raise cash somehow, either through shares or through some kind of loan. Now, Celsius has already gone bankrupt, and the judge just ruled that Celsius users gave up the legal rights to their Bitcoin by using the platform, and all the 4.2 billion of crypto deposits are now property of Celsius. So most likely now going back to the order of operations for who gets paid next. But that is very difficult to see. I mean, $4.2 billion. I understand that's kind of what happens, that you gave up your Bitcoin and your crypto when you deposit on platforms like this, but it's still not anything you want to see. And if you want to take your Bitcoin off exchanges, as they say here, there are links to Trezor underneath the video. There are two different wallets. One's like $40 and then one's $200, depending on if you want a touchscreen and some other capabilities available with a more expensive one. So that company's already gone bankrupt, but there are a couple of companies now that are facing bankruptcy. One is Silvergate. They sold assets. This just came out yesterday. They sold assets at a loss and cut staff to cover a $8.1 billion withdrawal amount. Silvergate has reportedly laid off 200 members of its staff, which is around 40% of its number of employees. The FTX debacle has triggered a run on Silvergate, causing the company to sell off its own assets at a loss and cut staff by 40% to cover an $8.1 billion worth of customer withdrawals. According to a report published by the Wall Street Journal, the bank liquidated debt that was holding on its balance sheet to keep up with the withdrawals, losing $718 million in the process. The loss reportedly surpasses the firm's profits since 2013. 9 years worth of profits. In addition, the crypto-related deposits in the firm have dropped by 68% in the fourth quarter of the last year. Because of this, Silvergate dismisses around 200 employees. Apart from this, the bank also canceled a plan to launch its own digital currency project, writing off almost $200 million that it paid Facebook to buy the technology it built for the DM project. Despite this, the bank remains positive in its commitment to crypto and claims to have enough funds to handle the transformation phase. The bank highlights that it's taking decisive action to navigate the current market situation. The bank has been under scrutiny from the United States lawmakers because of its ties to FTX and Alameda Research. 3 senators wrote a letter to Silvergate to probe the bank's involvement in customer losses as the FTX exchange collapsed. This company is down significantly here today. The stock price is down 47% just today. It's a $370 million company. They were just talking about they had $8.1 million worth of withdrawals, and they're getting to be quite a small market cap. Not that it really matters too much, but you can see a lot of people don't have faith in this company. I mean, if we go back to 2021, late 2021, this was a darling stock. It was up to $220. Now it's down 95%. If we go a couple of years before that, just like a year and a half before that, it was $8. So if you held over the last couple of years, you could have been up, 20x, 25x, and then back down 95%. So pretty tough to swallow. One of the biggest companies now on the brink of bankruptcy, it looks like. And one other company that I've talked about a lot recently, and I think the whole crypto world has, DCG and Genesis, is under active investigation by the SEC. This is within the last day. Sources confirm that there are multiple whistleblowers that have come forward. So there have been a lot of talks about DCG buying back shares. We just had one of the Winklevoss twins recently write an open letter saying, you need to make this right. Can we commit to a plan to make this right for Gemini holders, Gemini Earn users? This is a difficult situation. Seems like they don't have the money to pay each other back. DCG, I believe, owes Genesis $1.5 billion, and these different companies are all intermingled. They say that basically they're all one unit, and they're all just talking to the CEO, and they're all commingling funds. This is not what you want to hear. It's possibly the next shoe to drop. It seems like Silvergate has been more of a slow trickle, but Genesis and DCG is so intertwined with everything in crypto, from all these different earn programs, a lot of different companies still having money in Genesis when it went down. Also, DCG owning Grayscale Bitcoin Trust with 600,000 Bitcoin as well. It could be difficult. It could be the next leg down, honestly. That could cause crypto to fall to where people expect, maybe 10, 12,000, 15,000. Who knows? People are calling for even less than that. Personally, I'm still slowly dollar cost averaging. My view has changed a bit in 2023. I think this is the year that we will, if we haven't already hit bottom, we're going to hit bottom pretty soon. And I think throughout the year, we'll actually move up. I think 2023 will be a green year, but I am slower in dollar cost averaging than I was last year because honestly, everything has just slowed down, right? There's cause of concern for recession. I might be trying to buy a little bit more real estate if we do see a significant price drop, but overall, I still think now is a great time to be buying crypto and other riskier assets for the long term. We've seen so much of a decline and so much fear and pain, and so many people are thinking short term. I think this is a fantastic time if you can pick up good quality companies and good quality cryptos for the long term. For cryptos, I've only been buying Bitcoin recently. There have been a couple times where I swapped between a weaker asset and then I maybe spread it among Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe one or two others. But for stocks, I'm buying high cash flow companies, companies that are in good positions on their balance sheet. I'm talking about some of the major tech companies. And I have also been buying some dividend payers as well. I made a video on that yesterday. Let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Let me know if you're sick of the doom and gloom. But honestly, if you've made it through this point, I think you can probably make it through DCG falling or Silvergate falling. And hopefully that doesn't happen. Knock on wood. I'm tapping on it here. But I think we could make it through. We just might see some price declines, but it won't be some of the stress that we've seen in the past where you had to quickly move crypto off exchanges. Hopefully you already have a wallet for that. And again, you can check out some links underneath the video in case you don't have a wallet already. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we're almost through this. I honestly think so. I'm proud of everyone out there that's still watching. Bye.